Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Monday, April 22nd, 2024. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including Senor Bitcoin right here on the screen, the Bitcoin price chart. We also take a look over there at the altcoin market and the stock market as we get set to open here in the next 1 minute. We'll also take a peek over there at precious metals like gold and silver in the DXY or US dollar currency index as our week gets kicked off. We also look at the financial news as we start our week and any type of crypto news as we kick off and start our week. Bitcoin able to hold throughout the weekend, now at 66,000 as the week gets kicked off. You do have a little bit of a recovery in the stock market after pretty insanity there on Friday. You had the NASDAQ down 356 points on Friday, which was 2.05%. Yet you had the Dow Jones up 211 points, which was 0.56%. So polar opposites happening there between the Dow and the NASDAQ there last Friday. Also, you did have the S&P closing down about 1% on Friday, but it looks like we'll have a little bit more of a positive opening today. While it was down 356 points on Friday for the NASDAQ, it'll be opening up 116, at least as of right now, but we'll find out in a few seconds. Looking over there, precious metals are taking a beating this morning, which is a good sign. Those are things that we want to see for recoveries in equities and recoveries in crypto. So we'll take a peek over there. I have also recorded and edited and exported a YouTube video already, so that will get released shortly after Markets in the Morning is over. Looking forward to having that out. It's always nice when those get completed early in the day. DXY is still above 106, still in that danger zone. And we'll take a peek over at the technology sector of the NASDAQ as well. Talk about something that we've talked about for a long time, is now it has started to develop a little bit. Otherwise, the altcoin market held up throughout the weekend. And well, we're off to a decent start here this week. So let's take a peek over it here. Bitcoin still waddling along. Nothing really to run and cry and tell mom all about in here. Question is if this is a Wyckoff in here, if that was your spring phase that comes out of Wyckoff, and we're going into recovery. But we could see these accumulations in here. They can take some time to end up playing out. So there's not a whole lot for me to really say in regards to Bitcoin at this point. The bigger focus, of course, has been over there on that altcoin market, which did hold throughout the weekend, which was nice because I stepped away for the weekend and just kind of set all my stops right down there below those lows down there from Friday. And sure enough, we got to work our way back up in there as the weekend kept going. And as we kick off this week, we're still continuing to do so. So far, so good. Things are looking good on these recoveries happening in here. As for particular phases that we're at right now in a normal recovery, and we'll just kind of talk about this one in particular and with where we are at right now. First thing, great sign to see us get there and get above the bounce from the liquidation on Friday, right? So what happened on Friday, April 12th, was the first liquidation, then came Saturday, and we had the second liquidation, right? First, an initial bounce back, and then now we've kind of poked our head above where everything happened on Friday. Some coins have bounced higher, some are lower. This is total 3 when we subtract the stable coins from there. So we're not looking at the stable coins, we're looking at the actual market cap of crypto in here. And things are looking good. But like we talked about last week, even though, first things first, this is all looking great. The big concern, of course, is if you get back in here and then you roll over and you have one new low to happen like that. We showed examples of that happening in there. To get above here reduces those risks of that happening. So it's exciting to see that because it is still continuing to look like what a recovery looks like. So now we're moving on and saying, okay, well, if we are in this type of recovery, do we start hooting and hollering? Do we YOLO buy that we're now back above here? For me personally, no. Fortunately, I did get my snipes to happen down in here at the lows. Now it's a wait to see if there's going to be any additional entries that get placed in any type of a bigger pullback in here. So while we are up above here, it's just kind of important to say, yeah, look, these are how these things can go in here. It's not all clear. This is still a V bottom. It's a beautiful V bottom. But the things that can happen in here, you still a pull up and then there's kind of a crashing structure that happens in here. And then we find the bottoms and then we can then we can start shuffling our way up. And that's really kind of how these accumulations can go in here. And so we're just trying to get ourselves to those particular phases and see if that's the way that things do go. This was the first step of like really needing to get through here. I even posted on Twitter. I like kind of like just, we talked about it in the YouTube videos, but Twitter, you know, it's its own thing. The fact that we got through right around here, this was the big moment where a lot of times we see those things kind of crack and falter. And I showed examples of that on charts on the video that I had put out on Friday, that we go back here and then you can falter and you can set the new low and then go into the recovery. The fact that we got through there, that's a pretty optimistic sign to see. But it's important to just remember, in the way I'm approaching this, is that, hey, it is definitely still looking like a reversal after an ABC structure. But when we think of reversals and the way this market has programmed itself psychologically, it's up only is the psychology that the market has gotten used to, and not corrective structures. It's having a difficult time participants psychologically handling that. In this event, just you could see these clearly how these things can go, right? We could still be in here for some time. So I come to the table thinking of it, it could likely still be like that. But so far, that was a really good move to see throughout the weekend. Now it's going to be, you know, how are we going to work our way out of here? We're going to work our way out and then like kind of hold supports on top of here, and like so. Right? How these can work out. Or is it just one of these? And, you know, my bet is it's one of these. My bet is it's still going to have some time it's still going to have to work this thing out in here. But the fact that we didn't get pummeled over from here was a really good sign to see throughout the weekend. So I'm super optimistic for that. I recorded and talked all about that in today's video as well. As for XRP still continues to hold. We talk about this as well. Of course, you know, we saw something very similar to this back in 2016, where we came back down to these lows just like so. Where it slams that, right? We have all the higher highs and then boom, shakes the market, rattles it pretty hard. This, of course, also happened back when XRP was back, or excuse me, when Bitcoin was back at its all-time high back in 2016 and 2017, where the price action did something like that. Quick example. Before we even get there, what do you see? Consecutive higher lows happening in here, slams back down right into there, right? So you'll see something like that. Right, same concept. Higher lows, bam, right? And this, of course, all happens while Bitcoin's back at its all-time high. So a little bit there. Of course, what's the mandatory requirement? You could sit here and hoot and holler about a structure showing up on XRP. What's the thing that absolutely matters? It is all that. It is all expansion happening in the market. So we have to see the entire altcoin market expand for XRP to do anything like that, or really your favorite altcoin, whatever your favorite coin is that you're cheering for to go absolutely skyrocketing. What has been the showstopper that everybody has been talking about here in 2024? It has been Solana, right? Solana, where have you gotten back to? Retracement levels, right? Retracement levels for Solana. It has not gone into expansion. None of the altcoin market has gone into expansion yet. It has all been the same stuff, this retracement stuff that has happened here in the market. Everybody's screaming Solana, 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 back to retracements. Everybody's screaming Ethereum, Ethereum, Ethereum. Back to retracements. We have to be able to expand. So, of course, if you're cheering and hooting and hollering for something like this to happen for XRP or your favorite altcoin, whatever it may be, what is the thing that we need to see? We need to see expansion happen in here. We need to see the market be able to escape from the retracement levels, which, of course, was the crying and whining and stress that we've had for the last month and a half on the channel, worrying about this. I only even putting out 3 videos in the month of March. Because I just didn't feel like putting out a video and saying, watch out. But we're past it, right? So we've gotten through that moment now. And now it's about recovery to see if we can expand. So now we're setting ourselves up to see if we can go do it. And this will be the big thing moving forward, because this would be my thoughts of what would happen in here is to be able to escape from these levels right here. This is where the true excitement of the whole cryptocurrency market can happen, should we be able to get through it. just like the character on the intro of all of my videos gets back to the 702, boom, breaks through it, goes to moon, because that's very commonly what does end up happening in this market. We face a lot of problems when we get back to it. Happens all the time. But now, it didn't matter how long you scream it, you get painted as a bear. Like, no, we're just at the 702. No, you stupid bear. Okay. But when we get back to it, that's the trouble. But if we get through it, my prediction would be that is the time this thing does end up going. And that's the mandatory thing. I talked about it in a video that I put up, a 40-minute video at the beginning of last week showing the presentation that I gave in Australia. And that just is what it is, right? We try to go at it from a data perspective rather than a narrative perspective, flipping the switch, all the money, and all the, what are nice words? Stories. We'll just call them stories. There's data. The data tells us the story, and the story is we need expansion. So right now we are watching to see our corrective structure, our recovery structure. If we can get a recovery structure out of here, what things are we actually looking for? And so the things we're going to be looking for moving forward now is that there may be one more push up in here, but then there may create the classic crashing structure in here. If we get the classic crashing structure in here like this is what I'm actually hoping for and cheering for, not because I want to see prices go down, but because it'll be incredibly clear and there'll be conviction behind it if I see it show up in there. And so it's not about cheering for prices to actually go down, but to say, hey, this is actually what we typically do right in here before things go boom. And of course, I think we all want boom. So we're still kind of waiting for the next phases to appear. But what did happen throughout the weekend were more optimistic setups to happen in here for us to be able to escape and not do that kerplunk that we many times see happen right back into the bull flag again, which are great. So good stuff. Ethereum, of course, still holding in there. Others, the big thing, we all know it. Bitcoin. So, all right, we're going to move on and talk about the NDXT, the NASDAQ 100 technology sector. It's been a little while since we've talked about this. I've written newsletters about that. By the way, I do write a newsletter over there on blockchainbacker.substack.com. Good opportunity to plug. But we originally started talking about the NDXT back in probably October, maybe November or December, the NDXT, NASDAQ 100 technology sector. And it was a newsletter titled Bitcoin, Money or Tech. Something like that. Bitcoin is money or tech, to try to see where's the correlation of Bitcoin's price action. Does it happen in the technology sector or does it happen in money? And it's blatantly obvious and it's unequivocal. It's not debatable that it's just a tech stock is what Bitcoin is. At least the price action of it and the behavior of it is in relation to the United States stock market. So what have we seen? What do you know? We see tech pull back. But it's also been a long time since we pulled this up because this has been the thesis of what would happen for the NDXT. It just got stuck up here for 3 months. Now it's finally come back and it's done that initial leg down. And so now it's time to watch if we're going to have kind of a standard setup happen in here as the NDXT or the tech sector of the United States stock market begins to kind of top out. Some things to keep note on here on and I talk about this in today's video as well, which we talk a lot about XRP, we talk about macro, we talk about Bitcoin, we talk about it all to try to tie the whole picture in. Things to kind of keep an eye out when it comes to the Dow, when it comes to everything, is that we've really gotten what typically happens during a Fed pause, and that we go on and we set this new high. And what happens, the market believes this time is different. We're going to get bullish rate cuts, which you've never had before. Cool story. But what ends up happening is like we end up having these falls and then the Fed does end up cut to try to cool things down a little bit. It's never that they're bullish rate cuts. It's that they're trying to stop things from hitting the fan. Now, when we actually did this last time, so we've gone through this before to show that we've actually done exactly this prior to the great financial crisis, in that we went on and we set the new high in here. Then you had your first initial fall in here, right? And now what happened is the Fed actually still remained paused in here. There was a Fed meeting that came in here. They still remained paused. And then 1 week after, prices are falling. 1 week after that pause that they had their monthly meeting. The speaker comes out, says, oh, we're going to remain paused, blah, blah, blah. 1 week later, they come out and do an emergency rate cut down in here. This is where the market then rallies one more time, and then it's all over. The funny thing about that, that's also very similar to this stuff that we're talking about. What would happen if, that would be identical to what we have been talking about with the NDXT. Now, here we are, we're trying to predict what is the Fed going to do in here. But just know that that is how it happened. What would the market interpret it as? Bullish rate cuts, right? That's what they've convinced themselves of for the last 2 years, is that when the rate cuts happen, it'll be bullish. And it might be that we get a decent sized rally out of there. And maybe that's how we have euphoria come in the cryptocurrency market for a few months in here of absolute craziness, right? Some crazy action happening in here. Retail is like, yes, money printer, Jerome Powell, the money is just flying. We're going to make so much debt. The dollar, it's worthless. It's never coming back, right? And, in that moment, right, the market rallies in here and we see crypto go wild and all that stuff. And, we're just kind of come up with theses to kind of figure out how will the market sentiment be? Because we already know, what does the market sentiment do when the market rallies? It becomes irrationally exuberant, extreme risk taking. They come up with all the narratives. They become a team. They become F the Bears. There's this whole culture, right? And going against the culture is what you have to do, because you have to do it even at the bottoms. Because at the bottoms, they're all gobbling up bearish content, wanting to know that they're going to be able to buy lower. And then at the top, they're all gobbling up content to tell them that they're going to go to the moon, right? So what would happen in that event? They'd be gobbling up content that they're going to continue going to the moon. The price is going to, Bitcoin's going to $3.8 million or whatever Cathie Wood says it's going to do. That would be the thing, right? But still, the big picture of it all is this type of stuff. So it's very fascinating to see this still continuing to go, and to just kind of have an idea of how this did play out in the past. It was actually right here where the Fed did cut, where they saw the first cut, then the market rallied, and the market thought we were all in the clear. And I can't guarantee anything. I'm pretty certain this market would be no different, that the first rate cut would be perceived as the money printer go burr. So, we're just kind of seeing that. We have gotten our first structure to start to show itself in here for the NDXT. We also see it happening over there for the Dow. And I thought I would just give you a little bit of a show of how it went last time. You have the pause, you break to the new high, pulls back. You have the pause, it breaks to the new high, it pulls back. It took that aggressive pullback for the Fed to make its first cut. So there were no bullish cuts. The Fed had to be backed into a corner to be able to do it. So we're just kind of getting ourselves prepared ahead of time for the narrative, but it doesn't mean there still isn't enough time for something irrationally exuberant to actually come to the market. And so far, it still looks possible. So things are good, but that was just a kind of a zoomed out picture of the big picture, because this is now starting to tie in the things that we've talked about for the last 6 months, 6 to 8 months. And the thing was, the NDXT just kind of, there was nothing to say about it. As it stayed here for as long as it did, finally, it has done that pullback, right? So that pullback has started in here. Now it's about watching how things go in here. And again, the crowd is going to become drunk on their own storytelling. And when that comes, I'll ignore it. I'll ignore it. But your grifting will be there for you to tell you otherwise. So, all right, there you go. So far, so good. Just keep your eyes out. This again, this is positive to see that actually end up showing up in there, but to not be completely convinced we're heading out just yet. And that we have set that premise for the last week. We've set that premise to look for that new high. But also we set that premise to say, hey, even though we got it, not to be like, hey, it's definitely getting out here again. And just so you know, because we could see certain people are incredibly emotionally unstable. They've entered into a market that is not safe for them psychologically. This market is way too volatile. To put into context what a move like that would look like, okay? If this thing moves up in here, okay? And then if it shuffles all the way back down in here, okay, just to give you context of how big of a move that is, It's just like doing the whole liquidation that we had on Friday all over again. Okay? Now, it's not that we go set new lows, but it will have been recovered so much that this pull down is like you go through another one of these all over again. You could just see the depths of that and how long that actually is. That size move is the same. So think about that. Some people will take some profits here. They will take some money off the table to let things settle down and to figure things out. I'm not going to tell you to do that. But a lot of people who are smart would do it. So if you cannot handle that, think about that for a minute. That would be completely normal. Okay. Try to leave as many hints without telling you what to do. But there you go. Okay. So there you go. XRP looking fine. Ethereum looking fine. Others looking fine. NDXT, the big thing, finally has pulled back down in here. Gold getting smashed right in there. Not like seriously smashed, but it is nice to see a little bit of a pullback in there. We all know that in order to see actual expansions happening in the market, 2013, 2017, and 2021 were all correlated with or inversely correlated with gold. If gold is breaking down, we're typically seeing expansion happen in markets and crypto and in equities at that same time. So it's seeing gold cool off, maybe a signal happening in there, but still need more evidence to emerge in here for that. There was something else I wanted to show with gold. And here's the thing too, right? You can look over here at gold and see when did gold break out in here. Gold breaks out here in the first week of March, right? That's where the actual breakout ends up happening here in the first week of March. When do we start seeing the topping happening for the equity market? We see it happening over here when the first week of March. Equity markets top out. When do we start seeing cryptos top out here? Right here in the first and second week of March. So again, gold does show it. Gold does show that inverse relationship. There's so much storytelling and complete nonsense about a correlate. It's going to fly with gold, that crypto is going to move with gold. No. There is absolutely no historical precedent to go back and say that. Gold has been an inverse of crypto, and crypto is correlated to stocks, in particular tech. So we build these stories, we build these fabrications in our head of being that it's like money and that we are a safe haven asset. We are the polar opposite of a safe haven asset in crypto. We are the extreme risk factor of equity markets. We are equity markets on risk on steroids. We are not safe haven in any way. And it's all the data is proven there to be there. Okay. So when the safe haven is taking off, it's typically bad for equities. It's typically bad for crypto. And so we could see that happening in there with the tech sector peaking during the breakout happening over there for gold. And we see it happening over there for things like Bitcoin and the crypto market, all getting stopped out there in that first and second week of March as gold is going through the breakout. So now seeing gold start to pull back. Cool. Let's see that. That would be fantastic. For those who are turning in, we have quite a bit in here. We have 2,700 in here. If you haven't seen this, this is what every expansion of crypto has been. It has been a breakdown of gold. Every equity expansion, every crypto expansion is during a breakdown of gold, not a breakout. And that is why you have not seen your cryptos do well during this environment of gold actually breaking out. So can it calm down? Sorry, I hit the mic. That's the hope here. So we'll keep our eyes on it. DXY still in the historical danger level, 106. Not getting any higher, but also dancing on it where the market tends to not like it, which is what we still continuously see to happen in equity markets, why we still saw another 300 and something point drop on Friday. Now, the NASDAQ, I haven't covered the stock market now that it's actually open. Let's do this. There we go. Coinbase, Nvidia, and Ford lead the way with Tesla Netflix and United Health losing this morning as we get kicked off. The NASDAQ is actually doing much better than the Dow this morning. The NASDAQ is now up 140, coming off of Friday's negative 357 loss. S&P is up 26 after Friday's negative 47 loss. And the Dow is up 47 points after Friday's 211-point gain. So doing okay. But the positive thing here, I think, that we're looking for is we're seeing metals cool off right now. You actually even have silver down $1.27 today. So good to see metals cooling down. Hopefully a positive sign that this pullback happening in here can start to kind of cool itself off. It has been obviously very aggressive. Look at what has happened in here. This has been your 2024 rally. This has been since the beginning of 2024, since December. It takes back 3 months in only 2 weeks. And I think eventually when the thing is in full-blown pop, you will see way more than that. You'll see 6 months taken back in a month. You'll see a year taken back in a month, I think, at some point. But we're just waiting for those types of structures to kind of emerge. But this was the first step. This was the first one, right? So now it's kind of settling. Now does the Fed do their pause? That's what we talked about earlier in the year. Does the Fed do their pause? Gives the second rally, gives the juice, gives the market the euphoria that they look for. And we still continue to have a positive 2024. But again, it's still always that same outlook, right? Like we're talking about these things. We're talking about something potentially like that, right? It doesn't mean there's years ahead. It doesn't mean it goes forever. And even in something like this, which, boy, you guys love to grasp onto time predictions. You love riddles and time predictions. Even if you moved at that velocity, okay, this particular velocity makes the whole bubble printed by the end of July. Not predicting it. I'm showing you this, right? If you kept going at that velocity by the end of July, then the whole thing pops. Everything pops. Crypto pops. Stocks pop. The world pops. Everything pops. End of July, early August, if you moved at that velocity. So we still continue to keep that outlook of like, all right, we could see these positive things happening in here. 2022 and 2023 were all about bottoming. 2023 was really about Wyckoff accumulation and forming a bottom happening in the market, right? That's what we just talked about the whole time. It's about Wyckoff accumulation, right? Heading back up. Then now it's retracement levels. That's the big struggle on whether we're going to expand or not. The stresses of being at that. And then now it's like, okay, it does reject from here. Now, if it does go into expansion, what would an expansion actually look like? And how long would it last for? And in that example, in that manner of Brad Garlinghouse's $5 trillion in 2024, just to give you an example of how quick it could happen, because people do put into this mindset thinking that 4-year cycles, block reward halvings, the market doesn't top till a year and a half after block reward halving. There's these fantasy narratives that are in their heads. That none of that matters. It could be 3 months. Right, and that could be it. So I don't know. I'm getting derailed here, but again, still positive looking things. And again, this now has shown itself. The thing that we've looked at many, many times. I'm pretty sure I've brought this up on Markets in the Morning. If I had to guess, 40 times. 40 times. There's just been no point as it's been stuck here for a couple of months now. But now it's back, and we can see that right now. Now, if we want to reference what was it like in past times where the market does exactly this, and I'm not predicting it, but here's what I would say. If we do it, we will say, holy crap, this is exactly what happened last time. If the Fed cuts there, if you see your 25 basis point rate cut happen right there, and especially if it happens not in a meeting, but happens as a surprise, where they just come out and make an announcement and say, hey, we've decided to do a 25 basis point rate cut. Watch out. And not like watch out, the sky's falling. What happened last time was more like that. Then the sky fell. So we'll keep it in mind. I don't know. We're getting way too rambly at this point. All right, let's move on and talk about any type of financial news going on. We're already half an hour into this thing. I haven't gotten to this yet. Tesla slides 3% in pre-market. Li Auto sinks 8% as EV makers slash prices amid fierce competition. I'll move on. Trump trial set for opening statements and first witness testimony. Verizon reports fewer quarterly subscriber losses on flexible plan demand. That's a way to spin that. We have fewer quarterly subscriber losses. Okay. I think we're still losing customers, but we're not losing them as fast as we once were, is what I think that means. All right, here are Monday's biggest analyst calls. Crypto price gains to start the week following first Bitcoin halving since 2020. Oh, yeah, we did have the halving. As we can all see, perfectly sound money went to the moon. Given a lifeline by U.S., Ukraine must now prove it can beat Russia. Bitcoin transaction fees come crashing down post-halving. After the halving, fees spiked to $146 for a medium priority transaction and $170 for a high priority transaction. Well, the good news is fees are only $10 now to send any amount of Bitcoin. Send $100, get $90 on the other side in an hour. Yeah, but I think a lot of that had to do with the runes stuff. So altcoins are coming to Bitcoin. I could just see the hypocrisy everywhere. Okay, but yeah, that's what it is. All right, moving on over to Cointelegraph. Egen layer on the brink of potential yield crisis. I'm sure I mispronounced that. Bitcoin trades at a deep discount after halving. 5 things to know in Bitcoin this week. How to get better crypto predictions from ChatGPT. The Runes protocol will ignite a new season for Bitcoin after the halving. Penny hasn't dropped for Australia's next crypto unicorns. Wealth management firms to boost Bitcoin ETF holdings, says Bitwise. Hong Kong investment for Victory Securities reveals Bitcoin and Ether ETF fees. Grayscale's mini Bitcoin ETF cheap fees are hypothetical, says analysts. Bitcoin fees crash after record daily average of $128 on halving day. That's why everybody was fighting for their favorite alts. BlackRock Bitcoin ETF hit 69 days of inflows on 420 halving day. There you go. No new news except that fees went absolutely crazy with runes on the day of the halving. Otherwise, nothing really big in there. Nothing big going on in the stock market. Prices held throughout the weekend. And things have looked positive over there for the market and a recovery. So great to see happening over there. And just kind of chilling. That was a thing that was kind of a question mark there at the end of the week on if we could get our big pop up in there. And we sure enough did. And that was very positive to see. So hip hip hooray. We'll get through the chat pretty quick, and then we'll go ahead and get a video released out here within 30 minutes after Markets in the Morning comes to a conclusion. Otherwise, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I did a little bit of camping. So I did some outdoor adventures, and that was cool. Lived outside for a few days. Did a little bit of fishing. I did catch a fish. So did my daughter. We only got one, though. Normally when we go fishing, we know a honey hole nearby where me and my family will go, and typically we pulled out about 20. But since we were at a new spot, trying different baits and stuff, at least we did pull out one. But spent the weekend in a tent, got back yesterday afternoon, stepped away from the charts, and had very little cell phone reception out there too. So feels good to be back, but it also felt good to step away and live in an entirely different world than what this typically is. Typically right here with my face in front of a computer screen is very different to be in the elements for a few days, and that was quite nice. So, all right, we're back in the saddle. Let's hop on into the chat. XRP Bullish had gifted 5 BCB memberships right out the gates. XRP Bullish, thank you very much for your support, guys. And if you got gifted it from XRP Bullish, if your name turned green, make sure to say thanks. You now have the emojis, and once a month we do end up doing a member stream in there. Just kind of a little more personal level thing. There's no real script that goes on in those member streams. They're just kind of an added thank you. Where I just kind of hang out and chat with you guys about whatever you want for a little over an hour. We do that about once a month, so you now will have access to that. Joseph Morgan, a member for 2 months. Hey, BCB Alt, all is good. Just wondering, what do you think the next resistance could be if there's a flush to come in again? I appreciate your thoughts. I do think, like, in these circumstances, we actually find our way up in here for, like, the altcoin market minus USDT, minus USDC, that we get closer to about 560. and then it could flush all the way back down to these lows once again. That's the way I'm looking at that. That's how bad it could be, like I just showed earlier, that you could flush all the way back down here again, and that would be just totally normal. But yeah, I think, your question is regarding XRP. XRP shouldn't set new lows now, right? If it's going to do this, if it's going to continue with the altcoin market, it shouldn't do that. The big areas that would be consistent with the rest of the market is all right in there, right there around 56 to 58, where then it could flush right back down in here again. Luke gifted a BCB membership. Luke, man, thank you very much. I think it's the first time I've seen you show up on a gift. I appreciate it, man. Michael says, hey, BCB, do you think ADA has more potential than XRP? Is your price target for ADA still $10? Yeah, it's still at $10 as long as the market expands. As long as this market expands, yes, that's my area for ADA. Mathematically, what is the price of ADA right now? 51. What's the price of XRP? 53? No, there's no difference. No, there's the same percentages. Derek says, good morning, BCB. For a portfolio of the high dev and total value locked of XRP and base, how do you go about deciding an allocation? 60, 20, 20 respectively. It's all personal preference on how you want to do it. Right? When you go through and you do like experiments, right? Like we've gone through the dev activity and we've kind of played through all of them. And to say, here's what would have happened. All those examples do it in a manner of equal weighted, right? Like everything is perfectly equal weighted, right? But then you may have a higher conviction play. And that's going to be a personal choice to be a higher conviction play on something like that. So I really think it's more personal preference. But when you're doing like use cases, when you're doing studies and you're having like consistent variables, all those studies are based on factors remaining perfectly equal weighted, right? Then it's up to a personal preference on how you want to end up allocating it and differentiating it. Like, so on base stuff, right? Like, it's small for me, right? It's real small for me. It's new. It's flying in, and picking and losing. It's going to be hard, right? There's so much volatility. New things come and go. A lot of stuff can rug and go to zero very quickly. So it's little over there, right? But allocation of like portfolios, like for high dev, and we're doing something really interesting. Let me deviate really fast. The next newsletter is going to be very interesting. The next newsletter, and it probably will have a follow-up after that one too. But the next one, what we've noticed in the market that consistently tends to happen is one, it's the higher dev activity, higher user activity levels increase the percentage odds. But then there becomes this other factor that happens too. And we've seen this like in each market cycle, that there becomes a sector that tends to do really hot. And so right now, me and TXMC are putting together something which are very in-depth, going through each sector and which coins are in each sector. And it's doing this comparison with, of course, his charts to show how those sectors are doing in relation. What sectors are cool, what sectors are not cool, or what sectors are hot. So what sectors are hot, which sectors are cold, and the rotational aspects that happen between these different sectors, right? We all know there's, let me see if I can pull it up. Do I still have it? I should. No, it's all put away. Hold on. Right. You have your RWA, your real world asset sectors, right? Then you have your meme coin sectors, layer ones, layer twos. You have your gaming sectors. You have your AI sectors, right? NFT sectors, DeFi, and doing cross comparisons of all these different sectors. And so I think what would be more interesting is saying, well, what sectors are really hot? Which one is the crowd chasing? And then also isolating where are the user activity levels and developer activity levels for those assets in those actual sectors. But how you're going to choose your percentages and what you're going to do for each of them. I don't know if there's a one size fit all for all that. But when those experiments are being run, they're all being run equal weighted, right? So you can choose however you want to do it. I don't think there's a perfect number, right? What happens if you end up putting a whole lot more into the one that does really well? What happens if you put a whole lot more into the one that does less, right? That's why the experiments are all equal weighted. Markets Mike, BCB, you helped me so much. Your experience is invaluable. Most other content of this value is behind a paywall or in a Discord. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. 90% of my content is free. If you guys choose to support me with additional content, I have a newsletter and I have a $39 one-time course. But otherwise, 90% of all my content is free. Markets in the Morning and YouTube and Twitter. But thank you, Markets Mike. Angela says, females, brain or logic here. Where are we using your concert analogy? That's the big one right there. Was this it? Was this for the stock market? Was that it? Did the band go off the stage here? I would think so. I would think the band came off the stage here. Everybody's kind of like, oh no, is the show over? Is the show over? And then the chanting coming, right? And in the chanting coming, then everybody forgets it's just the encore. It's not a whole brand new show. I would think maybe we have already seen the band go off the stage. But it doesn't mean we can't have 3 months of crazy. But good question, Angela. Moosey, do you ever think that less money will flow into XRP as opposed to other projects due to lack of users on its network compared to Solana, et cetera, therefore making it a smaller conviction play percentage-wise? That's a personal preference. There is no question. And, the XRP business model, content business model is not to acknowledge this. And I have no problem acknowledging it at this point. There is no participation on the XRP network. Nothing meaningful. And that'll catch me flock. There's going to be a bunch of people writing tweets about me making that statement. The NFT market on XRP is completely dead. Completely. The automatic market makers launched, and the participation on it is utterly dismal. Utterly. I think there's $2 million in it total. For the fifth largest asset with this many people who own the asset, we are once again experiencing no participation from the users whatsoever in the automatic market makers. So it's very interesting to see if a story narrative changes. The price action hasn't deviated away from what it typically does. But it seems like the grasping straw has to be at this point. Ripple's going to pump the price because, TVL, XP Markets is $2.3 million TVL. It's dismal, right? It's barely anything for our size. Let's go look at TVLs of others. Let's go to DeFi Llama. Okay, Ethereum, 53.16 billion. XRP, 0.002 billion. That's your differences. Solana, 4.00 billion. That just shows you, right? So it's not fun. It's just numbers, right? Is it going to be a network that gets used in the participation of this market. The participants don't seem to want to use it for anything. So that's the interesting thing. There's going to have to be some type of narrative change. Now, like, there's one thing that is true. Okay. Price go up changes everything. That's the reality of it. It's the reality of everything in this market. Price go up, people participate. How many of you were DJ trading Solana meme coins and participating in Solana 8 months ago? No. Price go up, then participate. Right. So that many times does have to be the overwhelming factor. And I've been in Twitter spaces talking about this as well, too. It's the big chicken or the egg problem. What comes first, the chicken or the egg, the devs or the users, or the users or the devs? And then sometimes what just has to happen is number go up. And we see that in crypto a lot. Number go up, then those things increase. But as of right now, we're just not getting it. Again, automatic market makers, they're brand new. So there's got to be some stuff that has to happen in there. But you would hope that you would see like continued parabolic growth happening in there. XP market, let me see if I can find the chart on your stuff. If I can remember how to do it. Automatic market makers. Trends. Year to date. Daily. There we go. Okay, so here you go. One, it's brand new, right? So like using those numbers. Here you go, XP market. I'm stealing it from your website, but I'm giving you a shout out. Right? Still holding, still growing, right? Initial bounce. What we need to see is more participation. You see more participation, we'll come on here, we'll hoot and we'll holler about it, and we'll get excited about it. But, there needs to be more participation in a network. There's just cold hard reality. When you see, you're going to have to see it grow. So then you have if we see the growth start to emerge, then you start the speculation runs, right? You have room to grow. Can Solana go much higher? Or has it already swallowed a large part of the market share? Can Ethereum go much higher? Has it already swallowed a large part of the market share? Or has XRP built these things already now, and it's time for them to go grab a bigger piece of the pie? If it's time for them to go grab a bigger piece of the pie, then there becomes speculation of it being undervalued, right? Wait a minute, it's not appropriately priced for what the amount of market share that's about to grow. And the market forward prices it, right? So we'll see. We'll see. Can we grow? But I typically don't worry about narratives like that. You do always see this a lot, Musi. Crypto Pigeon. Yo, BCB, do you have any examples where it doesn't flush back down and we just moon soon? Pigeon wants moon. I would think your closest example would be like the C19 recovery. Let's go over here. Like that. Or just marches. But still, your V bottom is not as aggressive as you would hope, right? Let's do this. Fun. Oh boy. If you think this market wasn't a toxic cesspool during all of this, so I'm here to tell you it was. It was. Alex Watson, appreciate. Also, Missy, there's also other factors in there. Like, here's what's part of it has to be too. Like, one, the community on XRP is massive. It's very bizarre for the price to be that low with a community that is so massive. And two, the regulatory clarity behind it. It makes you just, you have these additional factors that most things don't have, right? And so that's one of those, like your question is whether you make it a smaller percentage based on your conviction of whatnot. Then you have those other factors too. If there are all these participants, like not participants, there's holders, right? And then there is this legal thing. And then there is all this social interaction, right? Those are things that you don't have on a lot of other stuff, like a passionate community. And that's one of those other things that, how do you quantifiably measure that? Makes it a little different, right? Alex, I appreciate you. Best part of my routine. Thank you very much. Your daily routine. Alex, I appreciate it, man. But Crypto Pigeon. I don't really have any examples for you where it fires quickly. This is a digest. That move typically has to be digested more slowly. These are all V bottoms, but they don't happen probably at the velocity of wanting to 50x leverage them right now, which I'm sure you want to. Thanks, brother. Thank you, Alex. Corey says, this is not a when-moon question, but do you agree that large caps like ADA can only 20x from here if we have more than just a couple months left? Man, could you imagine? I do want to take a pause for a second like that and just address that answer that they can only 20x. That our brains are so psychologically trained in this market to think that 20x is an only. To describe 20x as only. Like how big of a casino this is. This is the biggest casino on the planet if it will only 20x. If 20x would be absolutely insane to me. Only... I'd probably have sold my whole bag if we got 20x. So, there may be expectation. That's probably also the same people who think XRPs go into $100 or $1,000, and that talking about $9 or $10 for XRP is a 20x, and that's an only. Corey says, sorry, English is not my native language. I didn't mean only, but 20x only possible if longer than. No, you don't have to. Like, one of those funny things about ADA was how similar it was to, let's see if this is still on here. It is still on there, right? Like, this was the bizarreness of how the Ethereum Classic played out, and that the price action of ADA was the exact same percentages and time of what Ethereum Classic did. They were exactly the same. And then what was also fascinating was the drawdown was exactly the same on Ethereum Classic and for Cardano. And what's fascinating about this is this actually isn't from the same time period. This isn't 2020 and 2021 for Ethereum Classic. This is 2017 and 2018. And here we are in 2020 and 21, and they do the exact same thing. And of course, one fascinating aspect of that is the relationship of Charles Hoskinson to Ethereum Classic and Cardano. That Charles Hoskinson has hands very deep into Ethereum Classic at one point. And not anymore, but that these price actions happen to be so similar. It's utterly bizarre to see those happen and to see those price levels be so identical happening in there. But when these things happen, you take it from here, November to February, what is that? It's 3 months. How much can a price rise in a matter of 3 months like this? And I know it sounds bizarre to hear, but if you go into expansions in this market, that's 117 days. That's a 15x. That does happen here when the market expands, but we have to get into actual expansions. And if we do go into actual expansions, then yeah, things do happen very dramatic in this market. And where is it? We'll just look at things like Total 3. when things like this happen, please let me do it. Please. Won't let me do it. How about just total 2? Will you let me do it on here? Why? I gotta do it like this. We're still early. We're still early. YOLO, diamond hands, laser eyes. That's what all this was. All this, like once it gets through the expansion or through the retracement levels, right, it's what has to happen. Took 92 days. Right? And that's all it takes. And that's how long this market lasts. So don't ever, like, I try to show this all the time, don't ever be convinced that when the expansion comes, that your party is going to last for a year or anything like that, because they don't. That's 60 days, that whole party. That's a 10x in the entire cryptocurrency market. 10x, 60 days. Right, and don't ever be convinced otherwise. But you will be sold the bill of goods that it'll last for a long time. Just know that you will be sold the bill of goods. It will last for a long time. But once expansion does set in, we typically do not have more than 60 to 120 days. That's usually how long it does end up lasting. Question on osmosis. The price at 4.236 is just over $46. No. But on its market cap at a 4.236, it shows a 13 billion market cap with the price at $200. Is this anything to do with inflation? Thanks. I don't think I've ever even looked at osmosis market cap. Okay. Put this on here. That's a nice back test on that market cap there. Oh boy. That's 19 times whatever the price is right now, right? Do not go running by osmosis, people. If one of you posts, hey, what do you still think of osmosis? It's like, first of all, I'm not telling you to go buy osmosis. No, so I don't know how you're getting those numbers that you're getting. I'm just answering his question. 19 times current times right now, it's under 20. Which, if this market expands, right? If the crypto market expands, that's not out of line. Like if the market does something like this, that's not out of line of a number to be looking at. But I don't see how you're getting $200 or how you're getting 46. I definitely don't see how you're getting 200. Okay. Then we got a $2 altcoin chill super chat. Which, you know, I can read it or not read it. I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't. Because then if it takes off, they come back and they tell me about it. So you should have told your audience. But then if it cracks and crumbles and I said anything, then I get called a shill. So I can't win. So I'm just not going to say anything. Come back and brag one day. All right. There we go. What are we at? We're at 58 minutes. I don't know how that's been happening every time. It's like I do have the internal clock having me hit that 1 hour mark every time now, which has been kind of nice. But thank you, grumpy old man. I'm not sure how you got to $200. It's just a 13 billion market cap, which would put it at 200. Is that what we had right here? 13. I think your math was wrong, brother. I think the math might have been off. I think the math was off. The Gator. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. We are doing okay. Markets have held up steady. Pitbull says, hey, brother, do you see a bullish chart for the Russell at the moment? I don't know what to see that's bullish here. So you got to the 618 retracement and faltered. I don't think so. We talk about the Russell a lot. We've talked about how these are typically really bad signs for the United States stock market long term. That when these things have happened, when you have the Dow go set new highs and you don't have the rest of the market follow along, a lack of breadth in the market, this is typically end of cycle type things. And I'm not talking end of a 2-year cycle thing. We're talking the 15-year cycle that we've been in right now. This is the type of behavior that happens when the whole gig is almost up for the whole thing. Kind of like what we saw in crypto, where we ended up seeing Bitcoin and a few altcoins go up and set new highs here in November, but 90% of the market did not. 90% of the market topped over here back in April and May of 2021. That's the same concept of exactly what is happening over in the United States stock market. You have the Dow Jones and the new high. Your big companies, your big names are up there. The rest of the market is not expanding, which historically we see the market expand together. We see the Russell go on the expansion with the Dow Jones Industrial Average in every single cycle, 4-year cycle, people. 4 years, every 4 years, four. That has happened here. And for some reason, it's not following along. These are typically concerning warning signs that are happening here in the United States stock market. So, you can look for something independently, but again, it's one of these things. Dow Jones. I don't know why it does this difficult to see blue every single time, but purple is easier to see. As you can see, has not expanded with the Dow Jones. Now you go back in time, look at how they expand together back in 2020. Guess who expands at the same time and goes into a new all-time high? Bitcoin, same time. Then we go back even further. Look at these expansions happening together at the exact same time. They stall for years together, and then they expand together. Then you go back to the Great Financial Crisis. Notice how they expand together and go into the new highs together. So you have the expansion happening between the Dow and between the Russell at the same time for the last 15 years. And at the same time, Bitcoin, of course, goes soaring off into the sunset at the exact same time. And this has been true every time. They always expand together. See? Now, what is going on here? There is no expansion. And that has not happened the whole time. And so we've been looking at things of what does that typically mean? When has that happened historically? And that historically has happened at end of cycles, end of runs. Big bull runs coming to a conclusion, that's the end. And that could just be nothing more than a retracement there for the Russell 2000 before it goes crumbling down. Because this isn't normal. Like this is not normal for a continued expansion in the United States stock market, but this is actually very normal for what happens at the end. So, do I see anything bullish for the Russell? Not really, because how the Russell should behave is it actually should be going with the Dow. It should be breaking out with the Dow. And not acting so independent, but instead it should be going together, as you can see. It shouldn't be like this. These are typically markers of the market's getting incredibly consolidated. There's a lot of froth in the market. There's extreme valuations in particular sectors, and the money has gotten itself completely imbalanced in the United States stock market. But the Russell should have broken out here if we were going to continue expanding, which you can clearly see through all the past. Which, again, has been one thing screaming about with Bitcoin, right? They always expand together because they're friends. Ah, Mr. Nobody. All right, guys, that's it. That's it. We're wrapping her up. You guys check out the new newsletter. We dive into what's going on in base, the trends that are happening over there. When the sentiment returns back in here, I strongly suspect, and the data suggests it, these are going to be the areas to pay attention to in the market. It was just collaborated between me and TXMC. I'm so happy to have him on board. You can check this out over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. There's a link in the description of this live stream, and I did just post it over there in the chat. Otherwise, guys, keep your eyes out for a video that will be released within the next 30 minutes. I hope you had a great weekend, and I'm super happy to see that the market cooperated throughout the weekend. So I'll catch you guys again very soon, tomorrow morning. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the video that I'm releasing here in just a few minutes, and I hope that you have a great Monday morning and afternoon. But all right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like the live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.